the time of storm. Mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on a burning sand. Faithful guide for the pilgrim band, a shelter in the time of storm. A shade by day, defense by night, a shelter in the time of storm. No fears, alarm, no falls of fright, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock in the weary land, cooling shade on a burning sand. Faithful guide for the pilgrim's band, a shelter in the time of storm. The raging floods may round us beat, a shelter in the time of storm. We find in God a safe retreat, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on a burning sand. Faithful guide for the pilgrim band, a shelter in the time of storm. O rock divine, O refuge dear, a shelter in the time of storm. Be thou our help forever near, a shelter in the time of storm. Mighty rock in a weary land, cooling shade on a burning sand. Faithful guide for the pilgrim band, a shelter in the time of storm. Amen.
I'm good, thanks. Well, the folks are still socializing downstairs, so and they're full, and hopefully they don't try to take a nap. Do we need to? Do we have to make another announcement that we're getting started? Brother Matthew? Did he? Okay. All right. Well, this program, I'm just gonna chat while he's getting the others upstairs. I wanted to do something for women, of course, that applies to men also. And to those of you that what I'm going to say doesn't apply, you're going to support your female family members, wives and sisters and mothers and others, because as women, we carry a heavy load. And those of us that are, we're not being recorded yet, are we, Matt? We're not being recorded yet. Okay. Are we being recorded? All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I am again, Dr. Glenda Francis, I'm honored to welcome you to this empowering session that's focused primarily on women's health, mental health, and it's not a bad word. Let me get my mouse to work here. On women's health and wellness. Okay, I'm trying to get my mouse to work. Yes, and this is a space where we center our well-being, elevate our voices, and reconnect with the strength that lives within us. Each of us women, you know, we have some strong, resilient personalities. So today's presentation is designed to equip you with practical knowledge, evidence-based strategies, and meaningful insights to support your health journey, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. So whether you're here to gain tools for personal wellness, explore preventative care, or simply to prioritize yourself for a moment, you're in the right place. So let's begin this journey together, informed, inspired, and intentional. So this topic was designed just for you. As a matter of fact, I tweaked it a bit because I presented this to others in the past in the healthcare setting. Understanding, supporting, and promoting mental well-being. Oftentimes, when we talk about mental health, we look at it as something that's so out of the realm of healthcare. We don't see it the same as we see a physical illness like diabetes or hypertension or some other form of physical disease. But mental health is just a companion to overall health. So I like this display here of cacti. I like those because, of course, they grow in the desert in warm places. So I like to have that just to reflect. So Sister White did not use the modern term as I was doing my research, of course, updating it for the environment in which I was going to be. She didn't use a lot of mental health per se in her writings, but she often spoke about the mind, the emotions, and the balance between physical, spiritual, and mental well-being, including for women. She focused a lot on women. Her counsel linked lifestyle, faith, and wellness as she emphasized the special challenges that women face in their overall daily routine. And here are some key themes that she expressed. So as we look at this, the objective, I would say, for this presentation or this talk is so we can educate ourselves and others. We can learn about mental health conditions, treatment modalities, and the realities of people that we're engaged with. We want to correct the myths and the misconceptions when you encounter people, and we want to be able to provide factual information to those around us. And I stress factual, not myths. There are lots of myths out there surrounding mental health. Mental health, as I mentioned, is a crucial aspect of our overall well-being. Women face unique health challenges influenced by biology or socioeconomic factors and cultural factors. So addressing these issues improves quality of life for us, women, our relationships, our productivity, and the people that we live with. So this presentation is focused to look at some exploratory things, common mental health concerns, look at the risk factors and strategies for wellness, because there are strategies out there, and we just have to take advantage of what God already has in this space for us. So, understanding women's mental health. Why women's mental health matters, and that's really, it's gender specific. And gentlemen, we're not leaving you out of the equation, but you have women in your lives that can probably benefit from what I'm going to share, and you can also benefit from what I'm going to share. And the next time we're going to do something just for you guys. We're not going to discriminate. We're going to be gender neutral. women and men do not have the same makeup, like we all know. And we know, in um, our beliefs, we believe there are, women, there are men, that God created us, male and female. So I'm not going to go into what society says, but I'm going to base everything I'm going to say on the Bible. So the mental load of modern womanhood is tremendous. And as I mentioned, let me just go back to my other slide. It's tremendous. The power of prevention and advocacy is outstanding. You, women, us, we are stronger than we believe oftentimes. So we want to be empowered to advocate and speak up when the opportunity presents itself, because we want to ensure that we're sharing correct information, factual information. Women are more prone to depression and anxiety than men, often due to the hormonal imbalance, as I mentioned. We have life changes like the menstrual cycle, pregnancy, postpartum, menopause. All these hormonal changes impact our lives, whether we believe it or not. And we want to ensure that we, as Sister White says, mental health and physical health are deeply connected. So anxiety, worry, and overwork both harm mind and body. So societal expectation, I should say, and gender roles, because we're so gender specific in our roles, can contribute to stress and mental disorders. And we'll talk about some of those as we proceed. The relationship that exists between the mind and the body is very intimate, very intimate. It's like a husband and wife. When one is affected, believe it or not, the other sympathizes. And that's straight out of the Ministry of Healing, I think page 241. So there is a close connection between those two. So it behooves us to ensure that we have good balance. We're not overtaxing one at the expense of the other. Recognizing the influences that are there in society really helps us develop targeted support and intervention. That's why we need to know what's going on in the world around us. We need to hear what people are saying. We need to read. We need to educate ourselves and be informed. There are some common mental health issues, and we kind of touch on a couple of things. Depression, of course, persistent sadness. When you see someone is fatigued and they're feeling worthless, 1 in 8 women experience is that type of situation. Anxiety, generalized panic attacks, anxiety, phobias. 2 or more women are likely to experience that. Postpartum depression is real. Mood swings, exhaustion, guilt over who knows what, anything. 1 in 7 mothers. But I want to put a pause here and spend a moment here in talking about postpartum depression. And most of us here have had children. Some of us are of childbearing age, and some of us will have children. And we experience that postpartum depression, and sometimes we just kind of put our finger on what it is. We know something is not right. Our bodies are talking to us, and we know something isn't right, but we can't put our finger on what it is. And I just remember, when I was young girl, when I had my daughter, and I think after carrying a child for a being within your system for 9 months, and you finally express that thing that you were carrying for 9 months, something happens. It's like someone took something away. And even though you see the product of your pregnancy, you see the delivery, you see something still is missing. And if you have not maybe experience it, you probably wouldn't understand. If you have not born children, you probably wouldn't understand. But I know that I felt, like they say, some kind of way. Something wasn't quite right, but I was so young, I didn't know how to describe it. But as I grew older and I, became involved in healthcare, I realized what it was. It was postpartum depression that no one identified. I don't think they identified it back then. Nobody talked about that. I just knew I felt some kind of way, and I just couldn't describe it because I was just too young to describe whatever it is was going on in my body. So it's not something that anyone should be ashamed of. It's something that some people experience. And you can help others as they experience similar things. You can say, well, I felt the same way, and this is what I did. This is what, the doctor said. This is what, the midwife said, or whoever it is. So you can kind of help to educate people so they don't feel all alone. Young girls, sometimes, they're so unhappy with their bodies. They encounter eating disorders. It's very common. Bulimia, which is overeating and vomiting. Anorexia, which is not eating, and you like skin and bone. Adolescents, they experience that very often, more often than not, and sometimes their parents are not even aware, especially for the anorexic. They think their bodies are disfigured. They see themselves as being overweight when you can probably count every rib along their rib cage, but yet they see themselves as fat and not pleasing to the eyes. So those are real challenges that we face. And, sometimes, it's a cry for help by a lot of young people, saying, without saying it, that they're overwhelmed, they need some help, something is wrong, they can't identify what it is. So I want to give you some tools for your toolbox, so if things are happening like that in your sphere, you can at least provide some guidance. Of course, another thing that really troubles women is stress. Stress related to work, to family, personal responsibilities. We're under tremendous stress every day. And we have to be able to have some balance in our lives. We cannot be stressed every day because our body releases this, toxic chemicals that really help to really deteriorate our bodies. If we stress all the time, those toxins don't do us well. So some of the basic, non-medical way of dealing with some of these issues, especially for more mature women, you can look at things like gardening, walking outdoors. That's really refreshing and invigorating, which if we get a chance today, we might do that. Or reading a good book, audio book or physical book, hard copy book. But just getting your mind away from some of the things that you face could really help you to cope. And I always tell my people that I lead, if your cup is empty, you cannot fill someone else's cup. So you have to ensure that your cup is full, so when someone needs your help, you have something to give. Because you just can't give what you don't have. There's dimensions to wellness, women's health and wellness to be specific. We have to start, as I mentioned earlier, to encourage equality between physical and mental health. We got to treat the issues basically the same, with the same seriousness, with the same compassion, mental health as compared to physical. They're pretty much siblings, they're twins. So we have to realize that these dimensions incorporate physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, social, and professional wellness. And there is something as professional wellness. And we also have to remember wellness is not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon. It's not. We each have our own little area that we are dealing with, and how I deal with Sister Party is not how I'm going to deal with Sister Gloria. We're different people, and we have to remember that. So I will just say here, let's do a little bit of reflection. Take a couple deep breaths on your own, reflect gently, and choose one of these dimensions to nurture today. Take your pick: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, social, professional. And I think I mentioned Sister White refers to mental strain and emotional imbalance. She talks about that. She noted that women were especially vulnerable to mental strain from constant labor and lack of support. Not every woman has the type of support that some of us have. Some of them are doing everything. So those of us that are blessed with supportive family members, whether it's spouses or siblings or just family members, we have to be appreciative. She actually counseled that cheerfulness, trust in God, and avoiding worry were proactive measures for mental health and well-being. Because many of the diseases from which women suffer are the result of mental depression, grief, anxiety, discontent, remorse, distrust, all tend to break down life forces. Ministry of Healing, page 241. So like I said, just think about which of these dimensions, if you're experiencing any type of mental stress, it does not mean that you're quote unquote crazy. No, it does not. We all have areas of our lives that we're dealing with. It might be physical for you, it might be mental for me. It's not less important. It's not, neither one is less important than the other. They're both very important for our overall well-being. And there are many factors, of course. We talked about some of the factors affecting women's health, the hormonal changes that we experience in childbirth and pregnancy, which sometimes just throw us for a loop. Men don't have to experience those types of things, but women do. And then for the men that are in the room, you probably aren't having any babies anymore, but the women need, your wives, your spouses need to be supported because they experience some hormonal changes that you, gentlemen, would never know, would not understand. We're talking about two separate genders, and we want to focus on the caregiving roles and societal pressures. So we need to know what girls, young girls, from puberty to menopause, what to expect and how to thrive under those circumstances or changes that are occurring in their bodies. Understanding perimenopause, the issues surrounding the menopausal cycle, pre and post and during. We need to understand those symptoms, and that's critical. So I would just share a few tips in managing some of these hormonal changes. And just not medication, nutrition, exercise, and sleep. Oftentimes we experience trauma. We're in abusive relationships. We're experiencing the death of a loved one, and we are dealing with that. Not that men are more hardcore, but they're raised in an environment where society has made it so difficult for them to show emotions. Like they're not supposed to cry. I mean, they're human. Why should they not to cry if something bothers you to that point? But society has it that if you cry, you're not strong. So they too, we're going to do a separate talk for them because they too internalize things. And we see the results in different ways. And that could be physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. So they both sexes have their issues. But today we're just going to talk openly about mental health. And one of the ways that, we suggest in the medical profession that we should be dealing with some of these issues is to encourage conversations about mental health. Sharing personal experiences and discussing mental health publicly, like I'm doing now, whether in conversations or on social media, that helps to normalize the topic and shows that women are not alone. Because women are experiencing a lot of different challenges, including economic, financial stress, unsafe environments. They live in areas that are not safe. They're trying to protect their children. They're trying to protect themselves. They're constantly under stress because they have so many things that they're trying to focus on. So they need actually extra support from their loved ones. So let's talk a little bit more, as I move to the next slide, about, of course, prioritizing yourself and focusing on nutrition and exercise, because we have to fuel our body for energy and, of course, for our bodies to heal itself. We have to take care of our own mental health. We got to set some positive examples and help to normalize seeking proactive self-care that people should not be ashamed about. We have to look at what we eat, even though it may seem like probably not as important. Intuitive eating and listening to your body, you have to know what you're putting into your body and what your body is putting out as a result of that. So you have to be aware too of what you're putting in, because there's an old adage that says we are what we eat. So we just came from a beautiful spread downstairs. So much, I hope nobody's trying to fall asleep. Control your appetite, of course. And I think I don't remember who I was talking to. I was telling them about, I pretty much eat 2 meals a day, and I try not to eat between meals, even though my husband may have something tempting, some tempting snack that he brought and he wants me to sample. I try to space my meals, 5 hours apart. That's just how I live my life. But I'm not a breakfast person, so I'd have a nice smoothie, green smoothie or berry smoothie. And just so you know, a little secret about blueberries. If you're not a breakfast person, if you have a half a cup of blueberries, they are packed with polyphenols and antioxidants, vitamins and minerals. And if you eat that, the results peak in 1 to 2 hours and can last up to 6. So if you don't feel like a high carb breakfast in the morning and you have blueberries, try some of those. It will keep you almost all day. And we have to think about, of course, our exercise pattern when we talk about incorporating joyful movement, and it shouldn't be it's not punishment, it's just getting up and moving. Sister White stresses the importance of rest and recreation. Women needed time for rest, for outdoor exercise, activities, and relaxation to preserve both mental and physical well-being. She actually encourages exposure to nature and balance so we can find a balance between duty and self-care. Because it's important for us to take care of the bodies that God gave us. Our bodies were made in the image of God, and that's our temple. And He wants us to keep that temple pure, dwell within that temple. So Again, mental strain and emotional imbalance, stress wreaks havoc on both our physical and mental health if we don't address the causative agent. So we always have to get to the root cause of why things are happening, and we address the cause, the root cause. Enhance your physical health. Something's going on with my. Also helps you to promote good heart health. It lowers the risk of heart disease. Exercise in walking, brisk walking, or running on your treadmill, whatever you choose to do, but just getting up and moving, it helps to decrease the incidence of heart disease and builds muscles and strong health and hormonal balance and all of that. It helps you to build a lot of resilience. It improves relationships and communication. And especially if you're walking with a partner, while you're walking, you get to talk about different things. When I run, I would have my on with this one ear because I usually have my dog, and so I would run and I'd listen to something because, like I said, I can't do one thing at a time. I feel like I'm wasting time if I'm not doing something else. So I'm a multitasker. So, and I do them well. But just promoting that exercise, it really fosters helps to build our self-esteem and independence, and that also contributes to a thriving society. So manage your schedule for those of you that are employed or whatever you do. Block time off on your schedule for small mental health breaks. You don't have to tell anybody that. You can just block some time. You can even have your AI do that for you. Just block 15 minutes. You can have it blocked as whatever. But I know I have a vice president. I have a boss that is really into well, not just mental health, but into us taking care of ourselves. She really promotes wellness among her team. And I think that is so critical because you cannot give from an empty cup. And if you run yourself into the ground, you're not doing anybody any harm but yourself. So take small breaks in the daytime if you have to, and meditate, learn a new scripture, whatever it is, but feel empowered to do whatever it is. And don't ever feel that you have to accept a meeting invitation that's going to disrupt your day or going to cause you to be stressed. You just have to say no and strengthen that no muscle. I would love to meet with you, but today is not a good time, or tomorrow wouldn't be good. If you want to check my calendar and see what availabilities that I have, then we can come together and do something. But and I'm learning that. I had to learn that because I would have things on my schedule. I would have 8 meetings in a day, from 8 in the morning, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. So no, if I schedule a meeting, it's 45 minutes. It will not be an hour. And I feel very comfortable declining meetings, or proposing another day or another time, because I'm not going to stress myself out, not be able to have a bio break because I have so many meetings back to back to back. And you know what I mean by bio break? Being able to run to the restroom and take care of your physiological needs. So feel empowered to say no. Build that no muscle and don't feel guilty about it. It's your right, and you've earned it. Because stress and burnout will wreak havoc on our bodies. And there are some common signs of burnout in women. We talk about the role of stress on physical and emotional health. We talk about tools like meditation, prayer, journaling. And like I said, it's okay to say no with grace. Be assertively aggressive when it comes to managing your health and wellness. Don't allow anybody to dominate that space. Women are stressed beyond their roles. They're head of households, they're providing care for children, elderly parents, other family members, and oftentimes they don't have what I call me time. They have no time for self-care. Don't allow anybody to make you feel guilty by not, when you take some time for yourself. You're entitled to that. And I tell people all the time, those of us, or those of you that are caring for people, we call that caring for the caregivers. And we have a program in our department that focuses on that. But I've seen in my years on this planet, oftentimes the caregiver dies, and the person they are providing care to, the patient, is still in the bed. Because you know what? They're not stressed. They're just like empty vessels receiving everything that you have to give to them. It's like an empty cup, and they just take and take and take, and you have no more to give. And then you conk out, and you leave them right there. So we always tell people to make sure that you find some time to take care of yourself, your mental health, your well-being in the process. Sister White often emphasized, prayer and, of course, strengthening our faith muscles and scriptures that anchors us for peace of mind. Because the mind that is free from care, that is not weighed down with perplexing burdens, will develop strength and be capable of a great work. And that is from Mind, Character, and Personality, Volume 1, page 35. It is critical to not deny signs and symptoms of stress or mental illness. It's okay to seek appropriate help. Reach out to your primary care provider. Let them know what's happening with you, what some of the thoughts that are going through your head, some of the experiences you're having. But you have to recognize those signs and symptoms in yourself and in others. The sadness that we see leads to physical imbalance, fatigue, lack of sleep, appetite changes. Another big issue since COVID-19 that has escalated in our society. We see people withdrawing from society, neglecting basic duties. They have they're always stressed and can't focus. So it's important to seek help if you're experiencing some of these symptoms. And we have to show compassion. We have to be compassionate. We have to be caring. We have to listen without being judgmental. And when people complain about some of the mental issues, we have to validate that experience. We can't just, brush it off. This is their experience, and we need to validate by acknowledging, yes, I hear you. You may not understand, but acknowledge hearing. So simple acts of kindness and understanding can make a difference, a significant difference to that person who is experiencing those challenges. It is not essential to be shut up within walls anymore in order to engage in religious exercises. We listen to nature's voices. We listen to Jesus Christ teaching us innumerable lessons on perseverance and faith and trust. And Sister White speaks about that in Messages to Young People, page 245. It is the duty of every woman to take care of her body, that she may render to God a perfect service. Healthful Living, page 22. Most of us have been touched by one or more form of these issues. So don't be reluctant to utilize available resources. Share your story. If you're uncomfortable, if you're comfortable sharing your stories, if you're comfortable sharing your journey, you can inspire hope and reduce shame for others, making mental health the challenges that we face more relatable and less isolating by you sharing a story. Like I just shared, what I thought I was experiencing as a new mother. Another young woman may say, I felt the same way when I was, so it just helps people to deal with those issues and provides of support. So we cannot, of course, neglect prayer because prayer is the opening of our heart to God as a friend. So prayer does not bring God down to us, but it brings us up to God as step to phase 3. The mind that is free from care, that is not weighed down with perplexing burdens, will develop strength to be capable of a great work, as I mentioned. There is strong evidence that the healing power of relationship, of sisterhood, is very powerful. So, and don't forget to support your sisters as they go through whatever challenges that they face. You can also seek therapy. It's not a sin to reach out and solicit a coach. Could be a professional, a pastoral type of coach. It doesn't have to be the pastor. It has to be someone who is versed in mental health counseling and coaching, and you have to be able to find a good fit for you. Not everyone is a good match for you. You have to determine whether an individual, and you can just explore, you can research, you can interview different providers of coaching therapy to find out whether or not they're the right person for you, because every person is not created equal, and that person may not be the correct person for you. So you want to explore opportunities that are out there. And with some strategies for maintaining mental health, of course, we talk about self-care, diet, exercise, good sleep. Make sure you get good sleep. You're not up into the night looking at the news or whatever. Oftentimes my husband will say, he likes to look at the news because I think he believes that if he doesn't, he's going to miss something. I said, whatever is happening tonight, you would hear about it tomorrow when you get up. And I jokingly say to him, these people that are presenting you with the news, their bread, like my grandma used to say, is buttered on both sides. So I'm not worrying about them. I'm going to sleep. If it's important enough, I will hear about it in the morning, but I'm not giving up my sleep to look at the news. So we can do things like, a lot of companies now, they offer what we refer to as employee assistance, an employee assistance plan. And you can utilize that. It's often free to employees. So you can sign up confidentially, speak with a coach or counselor, get some free counseling. As I said, EAP in most organizations is free. Or you can use a trusted friend that you can be vulnerable with to share your discomfort, your story. But don't forget to build a healthy relationship with those you love. Don't forget to eat nutritious meals, as we are what we eat. Okay, so seek support, therapy groups, counseling, form healthy boundaries, be careful who you speak with. Make sure it's someone who is confidential, who will not, share your stories with everybody they meet, but a trusted individual that you can share that you're experiencing some stress, some trauma. You want to be able to share, and like I said, you want to manage your time. You want to be able to say no. You can't take on every task, whether it's in church or at home. Sometimes you have to say no, or let people know, well, let me pray about it. Let me think about it, and I'd get back to you. No one is forcing you to make a decision immediately. The cheerful live longest upon the earth. Ministry of Healing, page 251. Take time to know your body and to respond to the triggers that is sharing with you. Don't ignore warning signs. Address them as soon as you can. Your pap smears, your health checks, do not put these off. Make time for yourself. It's very critical that you follow up with your primary care physician for your annual checks. Don't put that off either. It's easy when you feel okay to put all these things off. Don't ignore them. Don't ignore these responsibilities. Know your numbers. Know what your blood pressure is. Know what your cholesterol level is. Your glucose, your BMI. You have integrate with your health, with your numbers. Make notes to yourself. Make reminders, have reminders in your journal. What is happening with you? So when you go to see your PCP, don't forget when you encounter that white coat. There's white coat syndrome. People forget everything that they have to ask their physician when they get into the office. Make notes, so as you sit with him, don't allow him to just run in and run out 5 minutes when you waited 45 minutes to see him or her. Have your questions answered. Make your checklist and have them answered, and make sure you have satisfactory answers to your questions, not just fleeting moment questions. So we want to boost our resilience, of course. We want to improve our relationships. We want to empower ourselves. We want to build confidence. We want to increase our self-esteem and our independence. And we want to promote societal wellness, because healthy women contribute positively to the communities where they live. Healthy women contribute positively to communities where they live. So when you're speaking with mental health issues, you just want to be respectful. Use person's first language, not a person with depression. Instead of that, you may want to say, person suffering with depression, not a depressed person. And avoid derogatory terms, because words do matter in shaping our attitudes and reducing the stigma of mental health. So when you're speaking, use first person language, a person with depression, instead of a depressed person. That is sort of condescending. So you will want to just put that in your little arsenal. There are many resources out there that are available to the public. For instance, hospitals, like mine, we offer free screenings, mammogram, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer, lots of free screenings to the communities that we serve. And you want to, as someone who may be aware of mental health issues, you want to be an advocate for policy and cultural changes, because that's the only way change will occur, if there's a voice, if we're talking about those things. Supporting mental health advocacy efforts, of course, participating in awareness campaigns about mental health, and encouraging legislative reforms that protect and empower those with mental health conditions. We have to make sure our legislators are aware, and they use language in the bills to support what's happening in the workplace or in the world around them. We want to ensure that the campaigns that we run, they stigmatize mental health and don't make people look at it as if it's a bad thing because you are out of your mind. No, you may not be out of your mind. You may just need some balance in something that's happening in your world, and you just need to balance things to get back to your equilibrium. So we talk about, of course, the language that we use. We've got to be careful using first person and not second or third person language when we're speaking with someone that is experiencing a mental health. And that could be a family member. It doesn't have to be a stranger. So we need to break the stigma, of course. And that requires a combination of education, conversation, empathy, and of course, advocacy. We want to promote the connection between mental health and physical health. We want to be able to have conversations that's normalized when it comes to mental health. We want to share our stories. It might be a family member story or our personal story. We want to share some story to help strengthen others. We want to educate people by what's happening in the mental health space. So in order to do that, we have to educate ourselves. So we can help to break the stigma of addressing mental health. Because oftentimes the media makes comments and portrays mental health in a very negative way, and we want to break that stigma. We want to advocate for accurate, compassionate representation of mental health in the media and in society. We want to support women without being judgmental. We have to do that. We want to wrap our arms around them to let them know that we're here for them. So whatever you do in building your own wellness plan, you want to carve out some time on your schedule, like I said, daily, for a break. You can do whatever. It could be a bio break. It could be just a break to have some water, or a break to just reflect for 10, 15 minutes. But you also want to set goals, sustainable goals, and I like to say SMART goals. And what I mean by that is whatever goals you're going to set for yourself, make them specific. SMART. Make your SMART goals specific. The M is a goal that you can measure. The A is attainable or achievable. The R is relevant. And the T is timely. So you want to have in your wellness journal some SMART goals. So you can say something like, by June, well, June is gone. So by November 30th, I will exercise 3 times a day. That is a SMART goal. It's measurable. It's relatable. It's measurable. It's timely. So those are the things. If you can have all that in your SMART goal, then you're good. And I suggest strongly that you create a wellness journal just to keep track of what's happening in your life. It's nice to have a wellness journal that you can just document some things that you want to address or some things you will change. And I suggest that only an emergency should cause derailment. Things happen, of course, but if you fall, get up. Dust yourself off and keep pushing forward, because those things happen, but we don't give up when we fall. If we give up, then we're done. So you fall, you get up, you have your interpersonal contact with your friends, your relatives, people with mental and without mental health condition. That's one of the most effective ways, actually, to reduce the stigma. Interacting, mental health, non-mental health, everybody just interacting and showing that it's really normal. You just happen to have diabetes, and I have a bipolar disorder where today I'm high as a flying kite, tomorrow I'm low in the gutter. There's just an. And sometimes we need to correct some of those with the medication. Not that you have to be on that medication forever, but sometimes you just need to correct that imbalance, and then you can take it to the Lord and ask for continued guidance regarding the way you should go. So in closing a reflection, I just want to, advocate for a call to action. I want you to take away some steps that you want to explore. For instance, you can explore local resources, your church, your school, your employer. Look at one small change you'd like to commit to this week. Whatever is happening in your world, look at one small change that you can make and you're going to commit to. And encourage connect, takeaways, link resources, offer next steps. You want to be affirming. You want to let people know they are worthy of good health and healing. Don't be ashamed to tell their story. More often than not, someone else is having the same experiences you're having, whether you know it or not, and you may just help them to boost their resilience a little more. So there are resources out there. For instance, of course, we don't believe um, in suicide, of course, but it's a reality in our world. There's a new hotline now, 988, where they focus more on mental health, behavioral health, as opposed to 911, where we deal with everything else. So there are resources out there. We have a local women's clinic, counseling centers around. They just have to check out the University of Google and have him find some places that you can explore. You can look at, teletherapy. I know some of the things. My hospital support is behavioral health, and we have people, organizations that we partner with providing behavioral health virtually. So some people don't even have to come to the office. That's how we've grown in this world of technology. So something like that, if you want to maintain, you don't want to be there and you just want to be home but still seek help, you can do that. You can have help virtually. We have NAMI and the World Health Organization, Mental Health of America, all the CDC, all those organizations. For instance, pastoral counseling, Ministry of Healing. We have peer-reviewed articles and journals. Stress, how to cope with mental health and wellness. We have reputable books and websites on mental health and wellness. So, and Sister White has a whole lot on Ministry of Healing and all other books that she's incorporated. She speaks to some things just here and there, not really several pages, but if you do your research and you put keywords, you'll see what she says about certain things. But she does mention that women have a lot of heavy burdens that they're carrying, and I share with you some of the reasons why. Because we're taking care of children, we're head of household, we're taking care of grandparents, and we try to make ends meet, and we're doing 2 jobs or 3 to just keep a roof over our heads. So women are under a lot of stress. A lot of them are single mothers trying to raise children. They don't have the support of maybe other family members or the husband or the father. They are under a lot of stress and pressure. And those of us that maybe can identify some things when we see some behavioral changes, we need to let them know that we're here for them. If they want to talk, if they want to share, that you're here to listen without casting judgment. But they need to know that they have the support of the church or anybody, trusted support, that is. I mean, there are people that you probably don't want to have a conversation with, and there are some others that are caring, collaborative, and cooperative, they're caring, and they're willing to provide you with the support that you need. So in conclusion, mental health is key to women's health and well-being. We have to be aware and what's happening in our bodies, and we have to seek support early. Every woman deserves stigma-free care. And when you come to the hospital, this is what we educate our nurses and healthcare providers to deliver. Non-judgmental, caring, passionate care. We have to prioritize mental health. We have to do that. We have to make the association between mental health and physical health. They are twins. When we feel good about ourselves and reward our accomplishments, this is dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter. It not only does it control, but it serves as a reward center when our bodies develop a craving for more good deeds. So rewarding yourself, your feelings, really helps your body to produce more dopamine and to just have that sense of well-being, feel good. There's nothing illegal, unethical, or immoral about that. Your body's own neurotransmitter, the God-given chemicals that God created us with. When you do something nice for someone and they show gratitude, appreciation, you want to do more. This is what the body is telling you. Or they were so appreciative, they're so helpful, you want to do some additional things. So it just helps us really to continue to do good as the Lord asked us to do. So I'm going to open the floor for questions or any shared experience if you care to share. And if you have information about your local mental health resources in this area, you can share that too. So I will pause and take your questions if you have any questions. I'm just going to show the reference page. So I actually, if you have your phones out, I created a checklist of tips to maintain mental health and wellness. And for some reason, Sister Gloria, I made 20 copies. I said, I'm just going to walk with 20 hard copies. And I left the 20 hard copies right on my computer printer. So, but there's a QR code that I created. If you want to scan the QR code, it will take you to that page that you can print. And you'll get a full 8x11 tip sheet on how to manage and how to deal with your stress and wellness and how to take care of you. So if you want to scan the QR code, feel free to do so. And if you have any questions, I'll entertain them now.
Yes, Dr. Glenda, thank you. I think this is a very relevant topic. You know, I still think even in this time and age, there still is a stigma about women and their mental health issues, and especially surrounding getting professional help. That sometimes there is situations where people need to seek a professional person that's skilled in the counseling field to provide additional help and can be objective. So I think that's important. I guess it's a matter of trying to find a specific counselor for your own needs.
Right. Yes. And you have to probably explore what's out there in your local communities. For me, my organization, my hospital system, Wellstar Health System, we have all those things for our employees, everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, from the highest level executive to the lowest level employee. Everyone has access to employee assistance, counseling, or coaching. So for instance, if you want to move from one job to the next and you want some coaching, you want to sharpen your managerial skills, you can just reach out to the Employee Assistance Program. You sign up anonymously. Your boss doesn't even have to know. You receive your coaching. If you're dealing with something stressful or traumatic, you can sign up and talk to a coach. Each of us get 12 sessions free every year. So we can have one every month. At the end of the year, we start over again with another 12. And there are a lot of hospitals, a lot of organizations that offer such programs. It's called employee assistance programs. You can ask them. They may not be as generous as Wellstar is. They may offer maybe 6, and then if you need more, you have to pay. But there are programs up there because you write, Sister Cantrell, there's still this stigma, and that's why I wanted to speak on it, because we have to break that stigma. There is nothing wrong with a person having a mental imbalance. There is nothing wrong with a person suffering from diabetes. There's nothing wrong. uh, Someone is experiencing hypertension. When I say nothing wrong, I don't mean physically. I mean, we need to look at those the same way we look at diabetes. We look at mental health the same way we look at diabetes. We manage the diabetes with probably some anti-diabetic agents. We manage with our diet and exercise. Well, we can advocate similar treatment modalities for someone with mental disease. They don't have to be ostracized. They don't have to be marginalized. They don't have to be cast aside as someone who is off the rocker. They having an imbalance just like you having an imbalance with your diabetes, and we need to manage both.
Dr. Francis, thank you so much for coming.
Always a
It's
pleasure.
been a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you, same here.
My name is Veranda, and I have a question about choosing one that is in a Christian faith. That's my issue. So the county that I work for, we also have EAP, but it's wanting a Christian counselor. Do you have a recommendation on how to go about getting one, or do we have a list of Seventh-day Adventist counselors that do mental health? Do you know of any?
Sometimes if you're from a conference organization, conference church, they have information on counselors. As I mentioned, there are some people that are trained professionally in counseling. So let's not make the assumption that every pastor is a counselor, because sometimes they need counseling themselves. So I would seek out from the conference office, if you're a conference church, that you reach out and ask them about the counselors they have on, give you a bio on the counselors that work for them. And you want to probably read the bios and see if they align with what you're trying to obtain, and then go from there. But it doesn't have to be, there are non-religious counselors that do just as well, or sometimes even better, than some of our religious counselors. All of them are just not created equal.
Thank you, Dr. Glenda.
You're welcome.
I know that some years ago, I had sought some counseling, and I had requested at least a Christian, and she was very good. She worked with me. She prayed with me before, and she prayed with me after. And so even though she was not of our faith, but she had faith. And so, and it helped, to begin with that. And then as we went through some of the different things that she had gone over with me and gave me my homework
Yes.
and things of that. But, and she, wasn't like far off on the one side or the other. And she prayed with me after our session, and I benefited from that, even though she wasn't an
Right.
Adventist.
Right. That's excellent. That's an excellent testimonial, because it doesn't have to be an Adventist. And there are other people out there that are genuinely, obedient to what they know. And they can provide the counseling as long as they have belief and faith in God. They respect Him as the Creator, and they include prayer in their sessions. That is a big, that's a big bonus, because God created these professionals, and I know there are some people that have some very negative opinions of the medical profession. All physicians are not created equal. We have some that are better than others. And I always tell myself, there are some that graduated at the top of the class, and some graduated at the bottom of the class, which means that they're not as sharp as the ones that graduated at the top of the class. So we have to realize that God created these individuals. They're not all out to get us. We actually have, God gave us the spirit of prophecy, where we have some guidelines on diet and health and nutrition and, lots of information that we can garner and use at our disposal if we take the time to open these books and hear what the prophet has to say. There's a reason why God raised up Sister White at such a time as he did. So we can benefit from her writings also, but sometimes you just need someone else to kind of help you put it all together, because you may still be struggling with some challenges. Of course, you pray and you ask God for guidance. And sometimes I tell people, when you ask God to lead and to guide, allow him to do it the way he chooses. Okay? You may pray and ask him for whatever it is. He sends you a plane, but you say, you want a bus. So you allow the plane to go by, and no, I don't think that's what God sent. So he sent you a bus, and no, I think he probably meant to send me a car. So he may be sending you, answering your prayers, but you expect him to answer it a certain way. And you can't tell God how to answer your question. He's going to send you the help you need in the way he thinks would be most advantageous to you. So I think sometimes as Christians, as Seventh-day Adventists, I think we focus so much on having a Seventh-day Adventist counselor, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we can miss a lot of opportunities, because there are other people out there that may not be Seventh-day Adventists, but they love the Lord and they believe in what they do, and he gave them the skills that can provide some directions, some assistance to us. All right? That's it? Okay. Well, so you were able to scan the QR code. Anybody did you scan the QR code? Are you interested in having the tip sheet? Because if you don't have a QR code scanner on your phone, I can send it to Sister Marge and Sister Gloria, and they can just print, but Sister just print and distribute on the Sabbath. But it's just a nice, it talks about the vegetables, eating the rainbow, so all the rainbow colored vegetables, all those things that provided such an abundance of polyphenols and antioxidants and vitamins and minerals that just do your body so good without having to input foreign substances. Those are natural substances that he created for us that we can utilize. I'm going to mention here that oftentimes people say to me, and there's one particular individual that said, we talk about nutrition in this presentation, and they said to me, well, the doctors say I need some, my doctor say I need some animal protein. And I would say, well, did you mention to the doctor that cows and horses and elephants and bisons, they're all vegetarians? Did you mention to him that they don't eat each other or other mammals so they can become as huge as they are? So ask your physician, why do I need to eat them to get what they're getting from the vegetables? Why don't I just eat the vegetables and get it straight from the source? So, sometimes we have misinformation. Like I said, every physician is not created equal, and it all depends on where you went to school. But there are a lot of things that we advocate in the medical profession that, the Bible has issues with, or Sister White has issues with. And animal protein is one of those. And I sometimes say, well, I don't look like I'm starving. Do I look like I'm hungry or missing something? You just have to be obedient to God, to the guidelines that he provided for us, to what he says we should eat and how we said we should drink and how we should live, and have him lead and guide us into truth. And he will do the rest of what needs to be done. When we put in our best foot forward to do everything that he admonishes us to do. And of course, we're human, so we may slip and fall. But when we slip and fall, we don't remain fallen. We get up and we start marching forward again. So, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. It has been such a pleasure. I'm going to end my slideshow. It's been a pleasure being here with you today. I like the smallness of the church, and I guess, Matt, you don't have to have that on. You can shut off the. I really just like the smallness of the church. As I mentioned to some of you, that my grandmother raised me part of my life, and she took us grandchildren to a small church that she attended in her neighborhood, and it wasn't actually, it was away from her neighborhood, but she took us to an Adventist church because my grandmother became an Adventist. She was a Catholic, and she became an Adventist. I guess she was married around age 25, and she became an Adventist after that. And I am just so proud to say that my grandmother was a very staunch Seventh-day Adventist. She really believed in the Bible. She was reading the Desire of Ages, Acts of the Apostles, the Great Controversy. She was reading what Martin Luther, before we could even read or even write or pronounce. But on Sabbath afternoons, if she didn't go into the community to take care of the sick and shut-in, she was like a missionary nurse. So she would go in and take into the community and take care of, do dressings for people, pray for them, anoint them, and all that. So that's what we saw growing up. I mean, we just thought it was just fun, just going everywhere Grandma went, and we were just tagging along with her, and she's doing her thing, and we're just watching with curiosity. But I don't even think she realized the foundation she was building in us, the 4 grandchildren that she was instrumental in raising. And I'm just so happy that she laid that foundation that we were able to build on. It was 4 of us grandchildren, my sister and I, and then 2 other cousins. My sister died a few years ago. But my sister was one of the most honest, just God-fearing young lady that I knew. She wasn't streetwise. She attended academy. You know, she got married to, you know, the person she dated, the only person she ever dated, and she died. She died a few years ago. But the rest of us, all 3 of us that are left from the kids Grandma raised or helped raise, because we all traveled after a while to be with our parents in America and, you know, wherever they were. I believe that my grandmother would be so proud, you know, that we did not leave the faith. You know, even though teenagers have their issues, their trials, and they want to be like the other teenagers, and they want to do this, and they want to wear the mini skirt, and they want to do all that kind of stuff. We couldn't do it in Grandma's house. I mean, we were young, and she kept us on a short leash. But it's good to sometimes we don't realize the conversations we're having with the little ones, the cradle roll and the Sabbath school and the memorizing the memory verses and doing the old 13 Sabbath programs and the acrostic. I don't know if you all remember those. And just having the kids just be engaged in Sabbath school, even though we don't think or realize that it's making a difference, or that it is making a difference. And we may not realize it until years later, because the Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. And I truly believe this. So I just wanted to share that little testimonial with you. I appreciate being here with you today. I miss all of you. We talk about you all, and I wish you were next door, that we can come and visit more frequently. But thank you so much for the invitation to be here. Thank you, Sister Marge, and thank you, Sister Gloria. Sister Gloria's been hauling me all around. Good driver, I must say. Very, very good driver. I'm really impressed. But I thank you all for the opportunity to be here, and I hope we won't be separated for as long as we did. But keep on holding on. The church, God's church, will never fail. No matter what happens, where 2 or 3 are gathered, even though it's 3 of you, his church will never fail. He will not allow that to happen. That's his word, and he doesn't go back on his word. So no matter what happens, no matter what's been said, no matter what, God will deal with people the way he deems appropriate. But just keep on holding on as we travel this treacherous journey that we're on right now, where we see all the doors and the windows are just closing in on us. It's just a matter of time. And I feel in my heart that the Sunday law is going to be in vogue very soon, in our lifetime, very, very soon. So thank you again. You're welcome. Matthew, can I disconnect? I guess I can disconnect. Okay. Thank you kindly.